The thing that I was absolutely stuck on was like, you're telling me this is a mushroom. This is a mushroom, and there are people out at bars right now risking their lives. This is a question I asked all night. Like, we've been known that we have this mushroom and that it is safe and that it is non-addictive and that it is non-lethal. We had this whole time, and I was sitting around and I was drinking alcohol. Hey friends and psychonauts, it's 𝙬𝙜𝙜𝙚𝙾. Welcome to the channel, welcome to the realm. Today I am going to be sharing the story of my first trip. Now my first trip, unlike a lot of folks, was not a trip I would consider a bad trip. In fact, I don't believe I've ever had a bad trip at all. I actually think that what we call bad trips could actually be trips that we needed. They're more like needed trips. In fact, any trip that I've ever had that someone would call a bad trip, I would probably call it a needed trip. That being said, this first trip was a good trip. It was on my birthday and it blew my mind. This is a story and a night that I will never forget. It was an experience that changed my life. I'd say easily one of the top 3 most important experiences I've ever had in my life. I'm 25, by the way, so take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, I'm gonna share a little bit about that story. And before I do, I want y'all to know that this video right here is for educational purposes and harm reduction. I am not promoting the use of any substances or plant medicine. I am just sharing with y'all my personal experience and, you know, some research. I encourage y'all to do your own research and put safety first. So let's set the scene. Let's set the scene. I was college aged. I will not say where I did this. I will not say when I did this, but just know this was a formative experience. I was a film major with an art history minor, and I was hanging out with some music department kids.
Let's just say these kids had experience in experiences.
And I thought that for my birthday, it would be a beautiful experience to share my first time with my friends and loved ones in an undisclosed location. I'm not gonna incriminate myself in these videos, y'all. I'm gonna be honest with y'all, but I'm not about to incriminate myself. So I was with my friend. I won't say his name, but he was an incredible composer. And if he's watching this right now, thank you for bringing this into my life. He was making sure everything was set up. He knew the drill, he knew set and setting. I was pretty ready to go. I had been in a great state of mind in the past month. We had the set, we had the setting. It was a birthday celebration, you know, so I was tripping on a new year of my life. I mean, before I was tripping, I was just tripping on it, like thinking on it, like, wow, I really am
X years old right now.
Not gonna incriminate myself. And this was a night trip. We did it all at night. It was pretty much all indoors. We wanted to feel safe and celebratory. So the night part was kind of the celebratory piece of it. The indoors part was kind of the safe piece of it. Not worrying about running into anybody or, you know, law enforcement or something like that. And that day I was just chilling the whole day. I think I had watched Enter the Void for the first time and I didn't know that that movie was gonna be like that. I think I watched Enter the Void and I played like Dungeons and Dragons. So I was already, you know, tripping on some things without tripping on some things. But we all gather around, we all start eating it, just straight up. Not teeing it, not nothing. And I settle into my body and I start really trying to feel it before I could feel it. But I remember just getting to a very meditative state with my friends and closing my eyes, and I could, after maybe like 10-15 minutes, start to see some like fractalized patterns of designs when I closed my eyes. And I was like, excuse me? Excuse me? And close my eyes again. Now I know I did not just see what I saw, but I saw it. The other first thing I started to notice was like getting on my cell phone. What's this font? What's this font? It looks all groovy. It looks all tripped out. Like, what is this font? My cell phone font was trippy. And I was like, oh, okay. Parts of my cell phone started becoming like 3-dimensional, y'all. Wild. Okay. aesthetics started to change. So we were in a pretty typical Blaine living room sort of a setup, and everything just all of a sudden became so beautiful to look at, really amazing. I was like, wow, I never before noticed that this room was as beautiful as it is. And everything here is just so beautiful, and y'all are so beautiful. Like, damn. Most of this I kept to myself because I was like processing. But as a filmmaker, everything really felt like cinematic. Like everything started to feel like there was a DP behind it. Like I was just completely blown away by a typical everyday undisclosed surrounding. It was beautiful, y'all. My friend, who is the composer, began playing some classical music. Just sitting down, closing my eyes and listening to the classical music. I started to cry, y'all. I started to cry, y'all. That music was so beautiful. Like, for real, that music, it felt like some of the most beautiful music I had ever heard. It was by some classical composer, and I remember strings and just being blown away by the sounds of strings. Like, I was hearing things in the music that I had never heard before. I was feeling things around music that I had never felt before. I started getting like pretty heavy synesthesia with like feeling the music and its effects on my body, like tactilely. We just listened to music and laughed and cried and talked. But yeah, as soon as that classical music hit me, I was in tears. I was in tears. And looking at everybody, they started kind of transforming into these sort of kind of like elf-like creatures. At a certain point, kind of like a old-fashioned Felix the Cat type cartoony looks that folks had going on. I don't know, just the morphing of their face. We were all just really connecting and laughing and loving. And I don't mean to glamorize this experience. It can be trifling and it's not for everybody, but we had a really beautiful time with the intention set just to celebrate and to experience this together. There were pads of paper and marker, and I remember just like drawing and doodling at a certain point, and the thing that I was stuck on, the thing that I was absolutely stuck on was like, you're telling me this is a mushroom? And my friends were like, yeah. You are telling me right now that this is a mushroom, and there are people out at bars right now risking their lives and drinking alcohol? This is a question I asked all night. Like, we've been known that we have this mushroom and that it is safe and that it is non-addictive and that it is non-lethal. I just couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe that we had this whole time, and I was sitting around and I was drinking alcohol. Couldn't believe it. It like was blowing my mind that people could have this amount of safe fun and not risk their lives with it, or risk permanent liver damage with it, or risk, quite frankly, so many things. I was like in my right state of mind. Like, I could think clearly. I didn't feel like tipsy or like, you know what I mean? I didn't start to feel like I was losing myself. I felt so myself and so in my being and so just like right here, like I knew it. And I just could, y'all, I could not believe that we were drinking alcohol. I couldn't believe that the college experience was like alcohol and not like mushrooms, though I will argue that the college experience is becoming more like mushrooms and cannabis and less like alcohol, you know, but not by a huge margin. But still, I was just like very much like in disbelief that I was experiencing this amount of joy, this amount of awe, and it was all just, I shouldn't say just from a fungus, but it was from a fungus. And I just felt so honored to be there with my friends and have this birthday. It was like, I don't know, one of the most life-changing birthdays I've ever had. And everything around me felt very in place. My friends felt in place. I felt in place. The mess on the floor, if there was any, felt in place, like beautiful. Like, wow, we didn't clean up those markers. They're gorgeous. You know what I mean? Everything was just so beautiful. It felt like, you know, the mermaid scene in Peter Pan where they're all just by the waterfall and just, except we weren't throwing any shade to Wendy's or anything like that. There were no Wendy's around, thankfully. But we all went to bed that night safely and happily. I just remember feeling very safe within the experience. Very much unlike my experience with alcohol, where I knew if I took just a little bit more of a certain drink, a lot could go south very quickly. 5+ years later, after the story, I'm not gonna say how many years later, but it's at least 5 years later. I've been alcohol sober for a year, so I haven't been a regular drinker. And ultimately, psychedelics were something that showed me you don't need to be drinking alcohol regularly. I had that experience on a trip on a beach in the summer of 2019. And you know, I haven't been drinking since then. So the realization I had about alcohol on my first trip, definitely I've been able to really integrate that more into my life. And my shit has just taken off since I stopped drinking. Like, damn, if y'all told me it was like that, I would've, but you know what? It's all good. Alcohol has its purpose, and to each their own. You don't need to quit alcohol to enjoy medicine. For me, it's just something I realized. Since that first trip, I have integrated plant medicine, entheogens, you know, psilocybin containing mushrooms, into my life as an experience that I will typically do seasonally, you know, once or twice a season. It's just so, it was so important for me to try it at the point in life where I did. It was so formative for me, and it made me realize a lot of very important things about reality that I don't think I would have come to terms with had I, you know, just kept drinking and, you know, typically partying and doing a lot of things that are assigned for us. Cannabis and mushrooms aren't assigned for us. When I was in college, both of those things were very illegal. Right now, cannabis is less so illegal. Mushrooms are still illegal in most places. I believe they are a Schedule 1 drug. I'm not gonna get into drug classifications right now, but that's a problem. And mushrooms have led me to so many beautiful places like artist communities and Burning Man and all of these great places. So I just revere them so much, and I am so honored to sit with that medicine and to integrate the lessons that I learn into my life. Yeah, I stands, y'all. I stands. It's the one thing I could probably talk your ear off about, which is why I'm gonna make these videos so y'all can make that decision on if you want your ear talked off about it or not. I don't know. But anyways, there are gonna be a bunch more of these mushroom videos and entheogen videos and maybe some other psychedelic videos. But I hope y'all enjoyed my first time. It was a really beautiful experience and surprisingly not scary. I always thought that my first psychedelic trip would be scary, which is why I was like, I might never do psychedelics at all. But I was in great company. I was very well taken care of. The set and setting were right. So, you know, have all these things lined up and you severely decrease the likelihood of adverse experiences. That doesn't mean completely canceling them out. Again, mushrooms aren't for everybody. It's very much to each their own, but they helped me see the world in a completely different way. And that was like the first year I started to see, yeah, I just started to see shit differently. My family noticed a difference in me. My friends noticed a difference in me. I didn't tell my mom right away about nothing, but I eventually did. And I let her know that it was beneficial for me to sit with this medicine and trip. And a lot of studies right now are affirming the things that, you know, I felt that I couldn't articulate so well. Mushrooms have definitely relieved, I'd say, the majority of my anxiety and depression. And I can feel a lot of the times when I come up on a wave or when it waves over me again, I feel like, okay, it's time to sit with the medicine. It's time to go make some tea. Honestly, y'all, I am better for like 2 to 6 months. It's insane to say that, I know, but that's just been my experience. Let me know a bit about if y'all have tripped before, a bit about your first trip in the comments. How was it? Was it scary? Was it funny? Was it embarrassing? I'd love to know. Yeah, for me, I was just in disbelief, like, damn, this is a mushroom? You can't be telling me that this is a mushroom right now. Like, what we are doing is a mushroom. If they're lying to us about this, what the hell else they lying to us about? You know what I mean? But that's another video for another time. And if y'all enjoyed my trip story, if y'all enjoyed this shared experience, you know, everybody who's a psychonaut has a first time. It's nothing to be ashamed about. In fact, I think sharing our first times with others helps folks realize that there could be a first time for them. Again, to each their own. Do your research. It's not for everybody, and I'm not promoting it. I'm just letting y'all know my experience. So if y'all have enjoyed my experience, please like this video and consider subscribing to this channel. I'm working my way to 1,000 subs right now, and I'm super excited about that. Every sub helps. I sincerely appreciate y'all for watching and listening all the way to the end of this video. Y'all keep it trippy. I'll catch you next time.